Last year I did a video which had really positive feedback from you the viewers about staying 100 days in Stardew Valley. And since I have some free time now, I decided I will do the same for a game very special to me. A game with which I actually started my channel, Graveyard Keeper. And so our adventure starts as I was playing Pokemon Go while on my way home, but because a woman called me, which never actually happens, I got so distracted that I walked into the incoming traffic and I woke up in what looked like Snoop Dogg's cellar, as it was all foggy and there was this guy who had red eyes who told me that I'm the new Graveyard Keeper, which is quite convenient since I got fired from my actual job 2 days before Christmas. However, as every person born after 1989 cannot really function outside of an office, I was too dumb to know how to maintain the graveyard, so following the instructions given to me, I went and dug up this talking skull, who wanted me to check out this donkey, which arrived, and to my shock, we were both able to understand each other, and he said that here is someone's dead relative, which allowed me to grab a slice of meat. Seriously, what do these people eat in the Middle Ages when I'm able to slice off such a lovely piece of roast? Then I had to go bury the body at the cemetery where I met my new boss, the bishop, who said that he will only unlock the church when I will fix up the graveyard. So I got to work and then headed into the village to find out how I can make money by selling the burial certificates, and I did few jobs like delivering a message to the blacksmith and slayed some green slime. On the second day I woke up with this ghost watching me sleep, and no, it was not the cute ghost like Patrick Swayze, it was ghastly. It was Yorick, spirit of one of the buried bodies, who complained about one of the corpses and he wanted me to excavate him and dispose of him. I started therefore the day by clearing out the cellar, where I heard someone in the collapsed tunnels. After that, I ran into village to meet up with Miss Charm, who had the same reaction to me as most women do. But one poet told me that if I would bring him ink and paper, he would write me a poem to charm Miss Charm. I also talked to the innkeeper who gave me that beer I was meant to give to Gary, but being the idiot that I am, I already bought one from him the day before, and so I went to the graveyard to dispose of the corpse by tossing it into the river, so that when Mr. Beast will do another beach cleanup video, he comes across something more interesting than just plastic bottles. On the third day when I woke up, Yorick was again watching me sleep, and he told me about how I can identify the body of a good person, an evil person, based on how many sins are represented by the red skulls in said body. This will be important, as in order for me to actually unlock the church, I will need to put in good bodies. After that, I went to see the merchant about the crop field by my home, for which he unfortunately wanted 10 golden coins. Talk about inflation. And because the in-game economy works on a principle where 100 coppers are 1 silver and 100 silvers are 1 golden coin, there was no chance I would be able to afford it, so he told me if I bring him dozen carrots, cabbage and beets, he will allow me to use the field. I then went back to the graveyard, buried the second body after extraction of blood and fat. Honestly, why would you need a liposuction before your burial? But at least I got my second burial certificate out of it. On the fourth day, I switched things up, as I knew it was the day when Snake shows up, but what most players do not know is that while other NPCs only show up at the village during specific day of one of the 6-day long week, Snake shows up more frequently. And as I needed to start building up reserves or resources for crafting, I spent the day mining for iron, stone, and I got some wood for more cooking, as Graveyard Keeper is great compared to other farming sims, as you do not need to go to bed at certain hour as long as you have provisions to maintain your energy. On the 5th day, Gary started to freak out as Inquisitor showed up in the village, and I went to have a talk with him, but it was really difficult to understand what he was saying due to that one witch being burned a couple of feet away from us. Only thing I know for sure is that he will want me to do things for him next week. On the 6th day, I hit my cardio goal as I had to run across the whole map to the lighthouse to meet the astrologer because he seems important. Important enough for me to miss the fresh body delivered, but since I was there, I talked to the lighthouse keeper about fishing and I spoke to the local town crazy person Dig about a possible cake recipe. I don't know, maybe it's a good idea to switch from these colorful mushrooms and these berries which make my tongue feel numb, and after I eat them I can speak to donkeys. On the 7th day, Bishop was back, but because I have spent all this time running around meeting other villagers, I did not have the sufficient quality of graveyard ready, so I spent the day smelting my first iron ingots and disposing of this body, as Donkey will never arrive during the day when Bishop is around, and also you need to bury or get rid of the corpse which you have before he will actually bring a brand new one for you. The next day, Miss Charm showed up, but because I still did not unlock the church, I spent the day making gravestones to get closer to my goal of joining the clergy, as I do not have to pay taxes afterwards. On the 9th day, I finally got the better tools, and trust me, if you ever pick up this game, this is one of the things which you need to prioritize, as the rusty tools you get at the start break down easily, and the grindstone to maintain them costs 10 silver, which is impossible for you to purchase at start. But the great thing is that I was able to give 12 carrots and 12 beets to the merchant, now only to get the cabbage. Oh, and I sold the rusty tools to the blacksmith as well. Day 10 was here, and this is truly when the game began, as I made my way to the cellar and Snake was nowhere to be found, especially on the day when he's meant to be there. Also, because I started the quest for the merchant, Donkey has not been showing up for the past few days, so no fresh meat for your local McDonald's, but at least I managed to fix up the graveyard. Day 11 marked the second visit of the Inquisitor, and as soon as I found out that the screams of the burning witch covered the fact that he will want things from me, I was tasked with providing him with firewood and fires, making me wonder if this is how the Burning Man festival started. Day 12 was dedicated to science, as I finally unlocked the black hole, which allows me to break the space-time continuum by traveling the same distance much faster. Of course, I'm talking about the tunnels that lead under the grain fields to the village, which allowed me to reach the astrologer and give him the skull he wanted. And during our conversation, he mentioned the previous keeper, about whom I found out that he kept a journal in his cellar, so I was given a key, which is super important. On day 13, I was finally allowed to unlock the church and conduct a test sermon for an empty room, which felt not weird at all. The one benefit of this sermon is that you get your initial 3 fate points, and sure, you can save these up for eventual conversation with Miss Charm or Snake, but the much better use for them is to take a couple of body parts into the church's cellar and conduct research with them, and I was able to get 65 blue points, allowing me to research lots of useful stuff, like becoming better at slicing corpses, to cremation, and more. When I went to sleep, however, I was woken up by the local marquis who escaped the Inquisition and wanted my help with their refugee camp. Day 14 was eventful, as I was again ignored by Miss Charm, and instead I made my way to the heart of the swamp where the local witch Clotho lives. However, because I was lazy to Google which resources I needed to fix the bridge, I had to go through the whole swamp, where she asked me to provide her with cauldron, and Donkey finally showed up after a week-long absence. Day 15 was quite busy, as I had another Skype call with the merchant where I gave him the 12 cabbage and the hiccup grass, but he started talking some nonsense about his travels, so I changed the topic to making money, for which I will need a trading license from the church, and I also discovered that I will need second tier of trading with the blacksmith for Clotho's cauldron. Day 16 was not great, as when I left my lovely home, the local blacksmith took me to a town meeting about the local vampire menace, which seems to torment the villagers, and when I was asked to look into this by the innkeeper, by the time I got back home, the local shepherd accused me of being a vampire, and only after eating lots of garlic, which took away half of my HP, he said he will not kill me if I look into the problem with the vampires as well. On top of it, I finally met Snake in the cellar, but I will need 5 fate points so he won't try to kill me. On day 17, I still had a deadly breath from all the garlic I consumed, so I decided to not interact with any of the villagers, and instead I worked on upgrading the church's interior for the upcoming sermon, and I installed a couple of benches and candelabras. Shame I could not install some speaker system to play Ritual from Ghost during such sermon. Day 18 was business trip day, which started with delivery of ink to Wagner that was purchased from the astrologer. I did some shady business with the lighthouse keeper to get my hands on his fishing rod, and then of course I had to test it out. Day 19 was super busy day because I had to perform my first sermon for the public. Afterwards, Donkey was annoying with his Bolshevik propaganda about equal rights and demanding I feed him 5 carrots per corpse and fix his squeaky wheels. He is so damn lucky these corpses have more meat on them than he does, or we would have another situation like when they found horse meat in the IKEA meatballs. Bishop has also tasked me with crafting of bowls for soup kitchen he wanted to open. I was still hoping Patrick Swayze would show up and teach me how to use the butter wheel. Day 20 was annoying again thanks to Donkey and his ridiculous demands about me building a contraband box, or he and his donkey friends would arrive, burn down my home, the farm, and the church. I don't know, maybe they would light themselves on fire and run around in the interior, not sure. Day 21 was here and I was super busy investigating this vampire mystery, and also I managed to sell a couple of things to the blacksmith, as I will need to do a lot more of this trading in order to purchase the damn cauldron for Clotho. This day was however important as once again I confirmed that there is an exploit which is not really perfect, but you can get 2 burial certificates for 1 body. The process is that you bury a corpse in a cemetery, after which you exhumate it and then you burn it, giving you 2 certificates where you have to deduct the 3 silvers by 1.75 to get the profit of 1 silver and 25 coppers. It's not perfect, but you can use 1 hole in cemetery for bad bodies instead of dumping them into the river, which I also do not recommend for you after unlocking the cremation. Day 22 was great as I kept busy with graveyard work, and I also managed to expand my work yard, which allowed me to install the second furnace for faster smelting. I was woken up on the 23rd day with a bell, knowing that Donkey brought me another meat, so processing someone's relative for the next batch of Big Macs, when I started to mess around with another fun thing in the game, which is that when you exhumate the corpse which were originally in the graveyard and you extract the correct body parts like blood and fat to reduce the sins and bury them back, you receive another burial certificate. Day 24 was another busy day as I went to the village and I sold a bunch of burial certificates and iron to the blacksmith, and decided not to purchase the paper from the astrologer as he had only 2 of them and I needed 10. Day 25 was here and I realized I was nowhere close to reaching any milestone, so I conducted my sermon and I made more coppers this time, and thanks to the accumulated fate, I studied 2 human body parts, leaving me with 5 fate points for Snake, and I literally spent the night rolling in dough. Day 26 had its ups and downs as I saw Snake, but by the time I reached him with the key which was left in Church's cellar, that bastard left me alone, and so I had no choice but to start my glass production, as spamming conical flasks is one of the easier way you can make blue points for research. On day 27, my plans were derailed by Clotho because when I wanted to talk to her about cure for a merchant, instead she gave me a whole lot of things to deliver to her, including Silver Star Pumpkin, and I was so mad that I went to fish by the waterfall where the slushing of the water covered all that inappropriate language. On the 28th day, I finally managed to catch Snake in a good mood where he said that he will give me instructions on unlocking the gate, but when I found out that I need more fate to research the key, well, let's just say it was good that nobody heard me cursing down there. Day 29 was quite uneventful. I was still mad about the fate, so I grounded up in my teeth a whole lot of flour, because what is even gluten, right? After that, I started to work on workbenches in the church's cellar, and I finished the day by burying my hands into another body, being at least happy that Donkey kept bringing me really good corpses lately, and I upgraded one of my furnaces. Day 30 was already here, and so I did what I could to help myself out. By that I mean I spent fortune with the astrologer, and I also purchased quality fillet from the lighthouse keeper in order to give it to the bishop, and I upgraded the graveyard quality above 30 points to fulfill another requirement for the church upgrade. Day 31 was so far the best sermon I performed, as I bought candles from Bishop, which in return allowed me to yielding whole 5 fate points, which I used to research the key for Snake, and also Brain, which consumed 3 fate points but gave me a lot of blue research points, which I used to get access to Confessional, as this structure alone increases interior of church by 5 points, and benefit of it is that every now and then someone might be inside, and if you take in their confession, you can get a story and additional fate points. Day 32, I decided to have a hands-on approach to the problem, and eventually I ended up holding a lot of wood in my hands. Just look at all these logs. Day 33 was busy day, as I had few things I had to do. Because I had like 3 coppers in my pocket, I went to sell the burial certificates to the Dead Horse Tavern, and in there I also bought from the innkeeper wife a recipe for pie making, which I followed by turning someone's relative extra crispy and making paper for Wagner. Day 34 was great, well, depending on your definition of the word, but finally I was able to unlock the cellar of the church with Snake, and when I got in I got killed, which is why I said depending on your definition. The strange thing is that when I woke up in my bed and went downstairs, Snake was furious, but understanding my immortality, he tasked me with doing a bunch of weird things and of course going into the dungeons. And I came across the zombie left behind by the previous keeper, who explained to me that I can make undead workers, as the Breaking Bad was the first expansion to the game after it was launched. On top of it, I was able to pick up that book I needed for the astrologer, and I swear to God, I still remember when I started my channel and I was not sure how to bypass that stupid fire pit so I would not die, and all I had to do is just sneak past it. That's it. I was so furious when I found this out originally. I will put the playlist into the video's description for you guys and gals because I need the views. Day 35 was another super productive day, as I delivered the flyers to the Inquisitor, and I observed how people were no longer entertained by watching people burn alive. Inquisitor tasked me with brewing wine for his guards. I then delivered the 10 pages to Wagner, who was happy to set up a deal with me where for every silver wine delivered, he would provide me with silver pages. However, this is not an infinite trade, and I think you can give him like 5 pages or 5 bottles before he passes out the trunk. On the 36th day, I went to see the astrologer and gave him the Old Keeper's book, where he explained that in order for me to open the portal, I will need a laser consisting of some really weird things, but the other pages were all sticky, so I will need acid and restoration tools to further interact with Clotho and Snake in order to proceed with the story. Day 37 was another sermon day during which I got 6 fate points, but not being sure if I should talk to Bishop about upgrading the church even after meeting the requirements, because during one of the stages he locks it up, meaning you cannot perform sermons and get more fate points. I decided to save up points for Miss Charm and I expanded my farm. Day 38 was the day when I finally spoke to Miss Charm and we talked about the town pass and how to get in. When I mentioned Snake, she gave me some fake coins for him. Trust me, however, if you would have first interacted with Miss Charm and after spoke to Snake, things would be a whole lot more messier. In the evening, I went to grab iron as I was low, but since the dungeons were now unlocked, a bunch of bats spawned in and I had to kill them and discover my first zombie. Day 39 was tough as I had to travel beyond the refugee camp, which I know I have been ignoring, but there is a place far up northwest where iron ore and coal is, so when I started to mine the iron ore and I got my first gold nugget, I was happy. I was however not happy when I had to carry the iron slabs all the way to my workshop, so I decided when I will come here next time, I will arrive with the resources to build iron ore storage and the stoneworker bench to process the ore and carry it inside of my inventory instead, as this way I will be able to carry much more resources. On day 40 I screwed up because I did not manage to give the bucket of blood to Snake, as I did not have the necessary resources, so at least I installed some of the skulls for decoration, and after that I went into the dungeon where I cleared out the first floor. Day 41 was almost completely wasted by me having to sleep off the dungeon raid and recovering my HP, but one good thing came out of it as I was able to get a health potion which I needed for Clotho, who drank it and remembered where she placed her cauldron, so I don't have to deal with trading with blacksmith to get it unlocked. Also, she gave me a recipe for spice for merchant and I was able to buy acid for the astrologer, which cost me 5 silver. Day 42 was traveling day as I made it from one end of the map to another. First I went to see the astrologer and gave him the acid he requested, after which I went to the mining spot where I set up stockpile storage, chest and stone cutter, after which I went to sleep in that structurally questionable hut. Day 43 was a little chaotic because apparently I screwed up slightly, but I did recall Bishop closing the church. Maybe that is when you go from big church to upgrade even more. Anyhow, so I started the day by doing the sermon and researching one of the body parts to get the blue points, after which I went to talk to Bishop and he told me I need a building permit that costs 20 silver. So I went inside, studied another body part, and I think I have officially studied the whole human body for now, and then I spent the night writing my script for the channel, which might explain why nobody ever watches my content. Maybe it's not really YouTube's algorithm fault. Anyhow, on the way to bed, the 2 confessionals had people in them, so listening to their confessions gave me even additional fate points. On day 44, I was not really sure what my next step should be since I did not give the fake coins to Snake yet, therefore interacting with Miss Charm was pointless. So I started the process of obtaining more blue points because after you research all the human body parts, what you need to do is bring the cemetery items like gravestones or grave fences to the study table, and because you got from basic wooden structures to like polished marble structures, you can actually achieve a whole lot more blue points just by doing this type of research. It is even better than the human body. I obtained the research for the advanced conical flask. As to make the spices for merchant, I will require a combination of salt and health solutions, and since I did use my final 2 fate points to study the gravestone, I had to go and eventually see Clotho. On day 45 I went to see the witch, and unfortunately she did not have the things I needed, but thanks to the teleportation stone I was able to get back home, construct the alchemy workbench, and also study the hiccup grass for health solution, combining it with salts from the burned victims. I mean from the people I cremate and give the spice to merchant, where he tasked me to make 5 exquisite meals for him, and I bought my first batch of grape seeds from him, which I followed by clearing out 2nd floor of the dungeons. On day 46, I gave Snake the fake coins from Miss Charm and also the bloody bucket. I received the town pass, but unfortunately for me to receive either the restoration tools or the stamp for the meat, I will require further reputation. And as bloody nails can be obtained in the dungeon, I went in and I came across the new type of enemy that are flies, which upon death spawn random powder for alchemy. Day 47 was busy as I started to prepare the vineyard for wine production, but I wanted to use the quality fertilizer. Therefore, I did make growth enhancer, which you get by combining ash with life solution that I got out of maggots. After that, I restocked donkey's carrots. Day 48, I started with some smelting. Specifically, I started to get steel, after which I went to sell crops to farmer, allowing me to reach 2nd tier of trading, which I wanted to celebrate since I had few coins in my pocket by going into the town. So handing the town pass to the guard, I was let in, but once I stepped over the threshold, I was struck by lightning, waking up at home, and Gary told me that Snake might have answers for me. Day 49 was another successful day as I conducted another sermon where I received 7 points of faith, after which I was able to create my faith prayer to even more increase the amount of points I will be getting from this point forward. I followed it by studying the maggots and creating the growth enhancer by mixing some human ash in, allowing me to make a whole lot of fertilizer, which made my cellar smell, well, not like bunch of daisies. Which brings us to our first sponsor of the video, Yankel Candle. Is your cellar smelling like you just killed someone in there? Then your solution is Yankel. We burn human fat, so you don't have to. Day 50 was here, and this is when the game truly started. I went to the village and talked to Miss Charm, and she gave me another task regarding her mom's jewelry. I gave the hobo 5 honey and learned how to bake a cake, and when I went to trade with farmer, I got a little upset as he sold me only 3 seeds when he damn well knows I need 4 to start growing pumpkins, lentils, and onions. When I went to retrieve my body in the morgue, this weird fella showed up in my body bag and told me that there's a secret door in and I needed the key, which was somehow inside of Gary's skull. So I had to trick him by promising to bathe him in beer. Day 51 was here and I realized I felt like I have done almost nothing by now, so I wanted to hurry. I bought seeds from merchant and farmer and I cleaned up Gary to get the key, which allowed me and my friend from body bag to enter this massive chamber of the cellar where we found a ghost locked up in a box. Day 52 was really great. I managed to reach the 4th floor of the dungeons where the enemy that drops bloody nail is, so I killed few, almost got killed myself, but by delivering the nails to Snake, I was able to get the meat stamp, discuss the jewelry for Miss Charm, and also receive the restoration tools for astrologer, from whom I will require the necronomicon because Snake tried summoning ritual and all he got was a chicken. I then decided to go show the stamp to the innkeeper, who said that if I package the meat in paper with the stamp, he will buy it from me without any questions. Day 53 was here and so was the Inquisitor, but because he wanted 10 silver quality wine, I was nowhere close to getting that yet. But I did already get my first harvest of grapes, and thanks to the fertilizer I did manage to get some silver star grapes as well. After that I went to deliver my first meat to the innkeeper and he started to question the nipple on the chicken breast. Which brings us to the second sponsor of the video, HelloFresh. My kids are such fussy eaters, but ever since we started to get food from HelloFresh, those little shits keep eating everything. Now they include this new butcher, it's called From Beyond, and we always get such a juicy cut of meat. I just wish my mom was here to smell this meal. Hey, that pork shoulder has a similar birthmark as she used to have. Okay kids, dinner is ready, come and eat it. God, please don't sue me, HelloFresh, but I hated that commercial whenever I saw it on YouTube. So if you know it, let me know in the comment section so I at least know that someone is watching this until this point. And also, if you are enjoying the content so far, give it a big thumbs up. The next day was business trip day as I went to the lighthouse area 2 times. First time I went and talked with the astrologer about the additional 3 parts to construct the laser, and after that he discovered he has a daughter. So he asked me to look into it and I had to speak to the local gypsies in their camp. We also discussed the issue of the vampires and he gave me some additional clues. Last thing I spoke to him about was the necronomicon, which the lighthouse keeper was apparently using as a support for his table so it won't wobble. So my second business trip was about me giving him maggots in return for the book. Day 55 was another sermon and I was excited to use my new prayer, which helped me get 8 fate points and also make every attendee donate 20 coppers. Day 56 kept me busy as I spent the night mining for iron, and during the day I went and spoke to Miss Charm about her necklace and she requested I fetch her a bottle of perfume that the innkeeper's wife is using. She agreed to give me a bottle of that stuff only if I deliver lunch to her sister Clotho in the swamps, which was super convenient as I had my first harvest of pumpkins and I also spoke to the Gypsy Baron. On day 57 I felt like Van Helsing as I helped around the refugee camp and my suspicions were correct about Master Alaric, who turned out to be the vampire and explained to me things about an ancient curse. On day 58, I did again shady business with Snake as I gave him the Necronomicon. I asked about his never-ending notebook, which I needed to get home, so agreeing to make a soundstage for Slayer's next concert with blood fountains, I headed into the dungeon and cleared out another floor. Day 59 was here, and with that another set of chores to do. I went to talk to the Inquisitor, but to my unfortunate surprise, he had more guards posted by the pedestal, so I was not able to investigate it, and because I still did not provide him with the silver wine, he refused to talk to me about the captured person from the gypsy camp. Despite day 60 being such an important milestone, nothing important happened, as all I did were preparations for selling goods so that I can get the church upgraded, because there's no way you can cheat clergy in this game. Day 61 has its ups and downs as I went to see Clotho to buy a dozen frogs, but she only had 10. So I went to the Dead Horse Tavern where I gave the vampire ash to the innkeeper, for which I received 50 silvers. So I used the money to upgrade the church, I bought the license, and then Bishop told me I need the rightful citizen's paper. And after I purchased that and he said that it's not necessary to own it, I almost shoved this brand new candle I just made down his throat. Day 62 was fun as I went to buy those final 2 frogs from Clotho, and I gave the dozen frogs to the innkeeper's wife, who gave me her perfume, which I gave to Miss Charm. Like, I literally turned my back to the innkeeper's wife, and then it was bam, another quest done. But Miss Charm requested a gold star quality poem, and because I did not have any, I decided to mess with Wagner as I got him shit-faced with silver star quality wine, for which he gave me a bunch of silver pages. On day 63, I went to see the merchant and I bought another set of grape seeds, after which I went to start preparation for the alchemy mill for church's cellar as I wanted to start my own candle production. On day 64, I did not stop for a moment as I was processing a large quantity of crops and I was getting supplies ready for Snake. On top of it, I wanted to prepare incense for the upcoming sermon. Day 65 was over sooner than I hoped as I kept working for the preparation for Snake and church cellar. Day 66, I prepared a whole bunch of incense for the sermon so that people will stop complaining about the weird smell that is coming from its cellar. Day 67 was here, and see, I told you that people would not be able to smell the fact that I just had my hand inside of someone's relative. So with another successful sermon, I got 12 fate points, and then I kept working on more preparations. Day 68 was full of more work, but my clothes started to feel super tight. I guess it's all this bread and muffins I keep eating. I guess I was turning into carbivore. Get it? Because the carbs? Yeah, I know you're laughing. Day 69 had me all sweaty as I started early in the morning to harvest massive amount of crops, followed by a visit to the merchant where I bought more seeds and fabric, followed by me turning my basement into wine cellar with press and 2 barrels. On day 70, I did not do anything in relation to Snake. I was more like a golden fish with a 5-second attention span, working things out with my inventory, making health potions, and other chaotic activities, but I did get my first 20 bronze quality wine. Day 71 was here, and so was my absence of coal for smelting and cooking, so I went to the quarry, after which I sold the wine to the innkeeper, after which I started to cook the dishes for merchants' meals. Day 72 was spent by clearing out the cellar tunnel so I can get everywhere without having to go to the surface. Day 73 was spent cremating bodies, and Yorick told me that the other spirits wanted to get rid of him, so they gave him some fictional title to keep him busy. Day 74 was another day spent doing my church duties. Man, if I would tell my grandmothers how much time I have been spending at church lately, they would be ecstatic. Not sure the reaction would be same if I would tell them that it's part of a video game. Day 75 was gardening day as I processed another harvest of grapes, pumpkins, and all the other things as I needed to increase my wine and meals production for merchant and inquisitor. On day 76, I was still not ready to hand over the quality meals to merchants, so I sold things to the innkeeper, bought 2 recipes from his wife, and finally started to work on using the first zombie, as so far I have ignored him, as honestly for you to set up logistics and enough zombies to have efficiency in the supply chains, I would not be able to get anything else done. If you however will pick up Graveyard Keeper and you want to know how to make 12 White Skull zombies, I will be leaving my guide for you in the video's description. On day 77 I finished the farm for Zombie and he got to work, after which I built the 2 fountains for Snake in the church's cellar. I then followed the day by me writing the Gold Star story for Miss Charm, which I will eventually find out was a huge mistake. Day 78 proved that I cannot tell simple symbols apart, as I thought Miss Charm would be at the Dead Horse Tavern, but it was the day when the Inquisitor was in town, so I went and talked to him about opening another part of the graveyard. Day 79 was brilliant as I wanted to make a Silver Star quality prayer, but it actually turned out to be Gold Star quality. After that I went to the local farm and bought milk to make pastry dough for the cakes to finish the 5 Gold Star quality meals for merchant. Day 80 was not as great as I wanted it to be because I found out the hard way that the Gold Star prayer requires more church points than I was able to provide. This meant that my sermon failed, and it was the kick I needed to keep upgrading everything inside of church and everywhere else in order to proceed, as the game has only just begun. Day 81 was a proof that I should not be uploading things onto YouTube, as the mistake of turning the page into story for Miss Charm cost me dearly, as when I tried to write my own version of it in the church's cellar, all that happened was that I wasted all of the accumulated fate points. On day 82, I handed the Gold Star dishes to the merchant, but because I was not able to sell any of the other dishes to the Dead Horse Tavern, I could not purchase more grape seeds from him, and so I worked on upgrading the cellar for Snake. Day 83 was all over the place as I started it by preparation with the candles for the next sermon, and I also sold wine and burial certificates to the innkeeper, which I followed by expedition into the dungeons, which were quite crowded. On day 84, I felt like the game is messing with me as I wanted to purchase the Silver Star wine to give it to the Inquisitor, but the innkeeper had only 3 in stock, which added up to 9, and I was missing 1, so I was mad and I ended up hammering a new candelabras into the church's wall for the upcoming sermon. On day 85, I was struck by the realization that when I was harvesting all these higher quality crops, the only way you can actually make money with them is by having the trading license for merchant, when you can then ship these and make money out of them. Day 86 felt like redemption after these past few days, as thanks to all the candles from the dead relatives I was meant to bury, but instead I used their bodies to get my plastic surgery license, and with the combination of the incense, I was able to reach quality of 65, which led to the best sermon yet, with 26 faith points accumulated, allowing me to also discuss the interior with the bishop, for which I was given that gold star page that I need for Miss Charm. On day 87, I gave Miss Charm her story, which of course led to her requesting that I ask the farmer to allow his daughter to accompany her to the town for her next performance. And I found out that not only I will need to fix the mill, but I will also need to speak to the astrologer. But the worst thing was that through all this focus on me marketing high quality crops, I stopped growing carrots, which would mean that Donkey would no longer show up with fresh bodies. Day 88 was all over the place as I went to buy things from merchant. I tended to my crops and I found out that I can sell flour to the miller, so in order to start growing hops, that is what I will need to do. Day 89 was here, and so was my realization of how much of an idiot I am, as I stopped even growing grain, meaning I had nothing to mill, so I would not be able to trade with the miller. So instead I got the tech to improve my brewing of booze, and I started to work on new gravestones to study, and these blue points I wanted to use in order to upgrade the furnaces so I can smell gold and silver, and I know I can sell them to the merchant for a hefty profit. Day 90 was here and I realized I was nowhere near getting back home, but do not fear, Max is here. And so were the 10 bottles of silver wine, after which the Inquisitor tasked me to make a stand for food where I can sell burgers and beer, which is why I was saving up all those juicy cuts of meat and I was not selling them to the innkeeper. During day 91, the astrologer and I had a discussion about calculations for the mill repair, but I found out that unless I will have 60 reputation with him, I will not be able to progress further, which meant that I needed to proceed further with the Inquisitor in order to get the Gypsy Baron information and then deliver it to the astrologer. Day 92 was here and so was my legendary sermon with another large yield of fate points, which I then used to study more gravestones and grave fences, plus all my tools and armor for those red points, which I used to unlock the 3rd level of furnace and gold and silver smelting. On day 93, I knew I won't be able to get what Miss Charm wanted done. I spent the day in the vineyard getting massive crops, getting ready to brew my first gold wine, hoping that I might sell enough things to get the money for the license for merchant. During day 94, I was not able to reach my goals, as unfortunately the innkeeper will not buy gold star wine from you, and I was nowhere near the 50 silvers that I needed for my trading license. So what I did was smelt my first gold and silver ingots for the merchant instead. Day 95 was busy day, as I was missing 2 skulls to do the summoning ritual with Snake, so I did the stone mason job and I made the graveyard a little more pretty. Day 96 was all about me trying to at least make all those juicy 100% grandmom patties, I meant the ground patties, for the burgers. Day 97 was day when I cheesed the game by selling flour to the miller, and then I bought it back and resold it to him in order to unlock the 2nd tier so that I can purchase hops from him. After that, I obtained the 5th skull I needed to finish the basement for the Slayer Raining Blood tour concert. Day 98 was amazing, as I started it by upgrading one of the furnaces to the 3rd tier, but I kept the second one to be upgraded later, as if you try to do the sermon too late in a day, especially after you light up all your candles and use the incense and nobody will show up, man, those are one of the days when you reset the day and, well, you know how it works. But anyhow, I did not want to use or abuse this mechanic, so after I was done with my sermon, where I obtained 36 fate points, I upgraded the second furnace and finished the cellar for Snake. Day 99 was hilarious because I was able to sell all this accumulated silver and bronze star quality wine, and with the combination of bread and burial certificates, I made exactly 30 silver. And thanks to all this money, I was able to buy the trading license for the merchant. Day 100 was very productive as I was able to sell to the merchant 11 ingots of silver for 88 silver coins, which made money no longer an issue. Afterwards, I gave him the trading license and we started to discuss how thanks to advertising, I will be able to increase demand for the products I can sell with him. I then worked on expansion of the pallets, but I did not manage to make any crated goods, and by selling more wine to the innkeeper, I was getting really close to owning 1 gold coin. And that will be it for the conclusion of 100 days in Graveyard Keeper. Do you think I made sufficient progress? Should I have not ignored the DLC content so much? Would you have focused on other goals throughout your 100 days? If I will do another 100 days challenge, should I focus on zombies, or what would you like me to do? Let me know through the comment section and I will be more than happy to read all about it.